Now, Vicki, over to you.
Oh my God, right, okay, things are pretty fucked up at the moment, we can feel that, right? But you are going to see loads of think pieces and opinions and all of that kind of stuff, but you know what do they know? So in my opinion, forget people that think they know how to navigate our way out of this. They've never been in this situation. Bin the Byron Sharp, ditch the Neuro and the Willwood Brown, and look for people who have navigated their way successfully through this kind of shit, right? Bin the books, get on Spotify, dig out your vinyl and start listening to punk, right? Just think about it. Punk came out, there was a 3-day week, it was a Cold War, there was a recession, there was racism, there was anarchy in the UK, right? Fast forward 40 years and what do? We get COVID, we get chaos, we get recession, we've got anarchy in the UK again, right? So let's learn from those who made it work for them. Let's learn from the Sex Pistols. Let's learn from Polystyrene. Let's learn from Malcolm McLaren, right? All of these people had common traits, right? They were uncompromising. They had a point of view. They had an authentic voice. They had a support, they had support from their fans and their customers, and they didn't sell out, right? So if we look today at the people that are really making this kind of situation work for them, Brewdog, Patagonia, like even Yorkshire tea, your nan's favorite brew has taken a stand against racism. That's like classic punk behavior, right? So whether or not, whether you're a client, whether you're a brand or whether you're a creative, my tips are find your voice, stand for something. Yes, speak up, stand out, don't sell out. Yeah, these are interesting times. This is where culture and context are colliding. Make it work for you. So fuck the naysayers, fuck the system. And as Sid Vicious said, just do it your way. Okay. Fuck, have I done it in the time? Amazing.
You're a bit over, but I thought, well, it's you, it's the start of the day, so we gave you a bit of leeway. Tiny bit over. But Vicki, thank you so much. An amazing start today. Lots of questions coming in, and I picked some of the best, as always. There's one here from Anna, and do you know what's a sort of one I put, it was me as well. We've had lots of talk in the last 3 days about the need for authenticity and finding your own voice and having a point of view, all things you mentioned. But as Anna says, what if our company hasn't really got its point of view set up? Is it too late to now come in and start talking about all these important issues?
No. Go back to why your company was created. You will find your tone of voice in your company's DNA, right? And that will tell you what you can have an opinion on. Right? Whether, are you the kind of brand that can tell people to keep washing their hands, or are you like some of the worst stuff I've seen when a cheese tells you to stay at home and you're like, fuck, mate, read the room. Yeah, you'll find it in your branding, you'll find it in your company ethos and what your company really stands for, and you will know whether or not you can kind of, you can step into those conversations and have a meaningful conversation around that. Does that make sense?
Total sense. Brilliant reply. Let's have a quick, this is a sort of an unserious one, or maybe serious, from Ed Preedy. What's Vicki's favourite punk record?
Oh my God. So there's a band that came out of Leicester, right? And they were called Crazy Head. And you won't have heard of them, but they had this thing, was it Frigging in the Rigging? That was one of my faves. Drill Your Own Hole, that was one of theirs as well. But I'm a massive Polystyrene fan. I loved X-Ray Specs, so anything by them.
Amazing. Let's have now a question from Gemma, who says, which brands have tried to be more punk and failed terribly?
Any brand that has legged on to and tried to do Me Too, but not in the kind of creepy, touchy sense, that have tried to force their way into something that's happening and haven't had and shouldn't be speaking in that way. I think L'Oreal's a really good example. They came out for Black Lives Matters, but then they got rid of one of their kind of black trans models 18 months ago for speaking out against, one of the black shootings in the States. And now they've had to massively backtrack, and you are like, guys, read the room, find your authentic self and know where you can have those conversations.
Great. Question here from Emma, who says, what's the most exciting creative trend you've seen emerge over the last 3 months?
Well, I think that one of the most exciting trends I've seen is that anybody can get anything on air now. Doesn't matter how much money they've got, right? If you look at some of the stuff that's coming out of ITV, when they've turned all of their all of their media space really to creators to say thank you and stuff like that. And I know it sounds trite, and I know we're kind of over that kind of that iPhone shot footage, but when you watch that and you watch it back, you're like, yeah, actually, that's really super smart. I also like brands that realized that they couldn't open and turned their premises or their skills to do good, like Barber opening their factories and and sewing masks and PPE for hospitals and stuff like that. That makes me feel really good about that brand.
Amazing. Okay, next one from Holly. She asks, is there a difference between rocking the boat being different and being outright controversial?
Um, I think both of those things are wrong and right at the same time. You have to have context. You cannot be the brand that comes out and acts like a twat, just for the sake of it. Yeah, because it's look, this is no different. This is no different than going to a bar. There's always a knob at the end of the bar that has got an opinion on everything and nobody wants to hang out with them, right? But there's always there's always somebody else at the other end of the bar who doesn't say anything until he's got something or she's got something really smart to say. Be that person. Don't be the twat.
Excellent analogy. It's a mix between music and creativity questions. So the next one's on the music. Richard said, who, in your opinion, was the most influential punk band? My left field take is not the obvious ones, but just...
Oh, interesting. Look, I thought the Pistols with McLaren behind them were incredible. I think the Clash and kind of how they spawned 1,000 imitators or just got people to pick up an instrument and play were incredible. The band that I really, really like, that I know had a massive influence in its kind of home country, is something. Oh God, what is his name? Feargal Sharkey from the Undertones. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Every little kid in Ireland wanted to be in a punk band after they watched Teenage Kicks on Top of the Pops, and taking that anarchy onto onto Top of the Pops, which was 7 o'clock on a Thursday, and you're sitting there watching it with your dad and your mum and your nan. Amazing. So yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, next question from Mickey, who asks, if marketers the world over adopt punk marketing, won't it become mainstream and therefore not really punk?
Yes, it will. But the ones that do it right, the ones that do it first and the ones that do it well, like punk, 40 years on, we are still talking about people like the Sex Pistols when a quarter of you lot weren't born. Right? I've got knickers older than most of you, and I am really, really proud of my punk roots. But when punk comes out of the cult and into the mainstream, nature doesn't like a vacuum, right? And it will fill it with another movement. So you should always keep an eye on what happens next.
Excellent. Question here from Donald, who says, why would big brands who haven't taken risks start taking them now? Surely this is the totally wrong time.
No, it's not so much as taking, like, I don't believe in risky advertising. I don't believe in brave advertising. I believe in right advertising, right? And if you are a big brand and at the heart of your DNA is something good, then it's only when big brands make a stand that other people start to notice. Does that make sense? Yeah. When somebody like, I'm just trying to think of a really good example. When somebody like Nike come out and they still kind of support Kaepernick, when they come out and say, don't do it, when the biggest when the biggest shoe manufacturer comes out and says, don't buy our stuff if you are a racist, then that gets noticed. I mean, I mentioned Yorkshire Tea and their "don't drink us if you're a racist" stuff. That was one tweet. That is one tweet that has got so much kind of earned media. They couldn't buy that amount of goodwill that they're having at the moment. But they're a big, I'm going to say dusty brand, but they made a stand, and good on them.
A question here from Betty. She says, you mentioned Brewdog in your talk, but what about all the brands that got it wrong around things like Black Lives Matter?
I mean, I think we, as punters, as consumers, I don't think we have ever had as much power and a say as we have today, right? And the strongest thing that you can do is vote with your purse, right? If you don't like what if you don't like what a brand is doing, you don't buy it. It's as simple as that, and it will kill them, and it will absolutely crucify them, and they have to get on the right side. So if you don't like, I don't like the way, let's say, my favorite cheese came out and told me to stay at home but eat cheese. Fuck you. There's a pandemic going on, and you were trying to sell cheese off the back of people dying, right? No, I'm not having it. I've moved, and that's the best thing that you could possibly do.
Perfect. Right, we're up against time, so just as one comment here rather than a question. Jinx says, "You're my pants idol, Vicki."
Oh, my old pants idol. I'll buy that. Thank you very much, Jinx.
But Vicki, amazing, fantastic, the perfect start for today's festival. Thank you so much for your time and answering those questions.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye, thanks.